In terms of natural beauty and stunning scenery, few places in Europe can beat Iceland. A lot of people seem to go to Iceland for a few days, so this can make your schedule pretty packed. So, what we're going to talk about today is the day trips that we did when we were in Iceland. Iceland is an island country situated between the North Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. With a population of just under 400,000, it is a very small place in terms of people, but don't let that small population fool you in terms of getting around Iceland. It's pretty big. It's roughly 6,000 kilometers long, and you're going to look at 17, 18 hours if you want to drive around non-stop. So my first tip would be don't expect to be able to do everything. Like us, we based ourselves in Reykjavik. So if you're just there for a few days, listen to these ideas for day trips. If you want to do something more intense, perhaps a multi-day adventure, then we sadly haven't had the chance to do that yet. But I think we would because I'd really like to get around to the other side of the island. So these recommendations are only going to really take you towards the centre of the island at most. So be wary of that. A quick word on Reykjavik, the capital city. It's a really nice capital city. It's quite clean. There's some fun stuff there, like this unique cathedral. So it's a good place to have a little mooch around. We went in October and it was still pretty chilly, so keep an eye on the weather. Obviously, in Iceland, you have long nights in the winter and short days in the summer, so bear that in mind. Likewise, the population being so small and being an island country, it's expensive. A lot of things have to be shipped in, so don't expect this to be the cheapest holiday you're going to go on. And a couple of extra budget tips then, if you want to try and save some pennies. Breakfast is often included in the hotel, so keep an eye out for that and make sure you take full advantage of the generous portions. Secondly, quite a few places seem to have kitchenettes in the rooms, quite a few hotels. So if you want to eat cheap, then pop to the supermarket and buy some lunch or some dinner there. Likewise, in terms of drinking, there was happy hours, and interesting, the happy hours early or late. So I think from memory, it's sort of between 6 and 7, and then from like 10 onwards. So if you want a cheaper drink, then either go out a bit earlier or go out a bit later. Plus, of course, you can always bring your duty-free allowance with you. That also helps reduce the cost of drinking. Right, so on to the first day trip, and this is the Snaffellsnes small group tour. You have to excuse the Icelandic. It's a pretty tricky language to get. Also worth noting, we're not sponsored by Viator, or this was used with our own money. But the day trip was great. They took you to the Kukenfell mountain, the national park and glacier, the beach. There was so much to cram in, so much natural beauty. Rather interestingly, being quite cold, the juxtaposition of the ice to the water, so in the waterfalls, was just absolutely stunning. There's just so much to do and so much to see. So this is definitely one that is worth considering. With the stop off at the restaurant for a home cooked dinner and the infamous or famous Icelandic horses, that was a nice touch. Okay, day trip number two on the recommendation list is the South Iceland Glaciers, Waterfalls, and Black Sand Beach Tour from Reykjavik. Now, this tour really has three key stop-offs, technically four, but we'll come to that later. So, stop number one was the Seljalandsfoss waterfall. Now, I don't mind so much that I completely butchered that because we didn't do this first. We did it last, and when it was last, it was pitch black, so you can actually see the waterfall, which was a bit annoying. But there was a bonus that I'll come back to a bit later. Oh well, these things happen. Next on the stop is slightly easier to pronounce Skogafoss waterfall. This is probably one of the most famous waterfalls in Iceland. The falls has a 60-meter drop and is easily accessible from the road. When we went, there was no precautions or barriers or anything, so you could get up close and personal with the waterfall. The downside is, like me, there were plenty of tourists there, so it's pretty hard to get a clean shot from my camera. And the final stop on the tour is the Jokalassen Glacier. That is three stops. Technically, the fourth one is Diamond Beach. It's listed as a separate stop, but it's actually just next to the glacier. This is up there amongst my favourite places to have visit. It was absolutely breathtaking. It was such a good contrast. So having the glacier with the icebergs in it flowing into the sea. The pictures were just stunning. And yeah, I think in fairness, I can see why they put Diamond Beach as separate because that is unique within itself. The glaciers flow down into the sea and leave all these ice remnants on the sand. So you've got this fantastic black sand with these huge chunks of ice on the beach. It's pretty out of this world, to be honest. So, as I mentioned, the first stop was actually the last stop for us. We didn't get to see the waterfall because it was dark. However, we got the bonus of the Northern Lights. And a few extra thoughts on the Northern Lights. It's one of the reasons people go to Iceland. Firstly, they're probably not as good as they appear on camera. There's various differences between the eye and a lens, so don't get too disappointed. They're not quite that spectacular thing that you see on so many of those photos. Second point is we actually missed the Northern Lights in Reykjavik, so keep an eye out for the Northern Lights when you're in and around Reykjavik, and don't take things for granted. As I think we did when we booked an evening Northern Lights hunting tour, where we drove all over the island, starting about midnight, trying to find them. It was cold, it was long, and we didn't see any. So, yeah, keep your hopes up. And the final day trip we did from Reykjavik that I would suggest could be worth considering is the Golden Circle. Now, there's quite a few variants on this. You can do bits and bobs. You can tag it in with the Blue Lagoon and various other things. We did something pretty straightforward. We went to the Kerid volcano. That was pretty impressive. The Gullfoss waterfalls, once again, being frozen over, had a really dynamic and dramatic look. The geyser, we'd never seen one before, and it really is one of the wonders of the natural world, seeing this bubbling broth of water steam up and then erupt. Definitely something special. Of course, like the rest of the island, in and around the Golden Circle has some breathtaking views. It's hard to do it justice on the screen here, but there are plenty of stop offs, great photo opportunities, stunning scenery, and just a fantastic day out. Anyway, so that's what we have today for Iceland. I hope you enjoy if you go.